it doesn't get much easier than planting lilies. The one rule that you need to understand is that lilies need to be planted much deeper than you might think. The rule is that you plant, for example, this lily bulb is about 2 inches tall. So you would want twice that, 4 inches of soil on top of the tip of this bulb. And I would tell you that you're much better off planting a bulb this size, a good 6, maybe even 8 inches tall. Lilies, it doesn't matter how deep you plant them because they will find their way to the surface. And the good thing about planting them very deep is, you know that critters like bulbs. Well, critters, God love them, they're lazy little things. And if you've got a bulb that's planted at 8 inches and they can find a bulb that somebody else planted at 2 inches, guess which bulb is going to get eaten? It's not going to be the one at 8 inches. So remember to plant your lilies very deep. The rule of thumb would be 4 inches on top of this bulb, but I'm telling you, you could easily get away with 8 inches or even 10 inches with a bulb this size. So remember that. The other thing is, we all know that deer like lilies. So if you're going to plant lilies and you have a deer problem, the best thing to do is to plant them in containers. And that's what we're going to demonstrate today, is planting these lilies in containers. Now, understand this is a 10 to 12 inch pot, and you can see it's got a good depth on it. If you look inside the pot, we have 3 lily bulbs arranged. This pot cannot take any more than these 3 bulbs. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover these lilies with another 8 inches of soil. You say, wow, that's a lot. They're deep. That's true. But guess what? I won't have much of a problem with critters when it comes to these bulbs, because they're just not going to dig down through that nasty, cold, freezing soil in order to get to these little guys. It's helpful when you're planting any bulbs, but especially lilies, to give them at least a half a cup of bone meal when you are planting them. If you forget, make sure you give them a half a cup of bone meal after you've filled in the soil. Just dust it along the surface. The other thing that you need to know is, if you're going to plant lilies in containers, there's a soil mix that we find is ideal. And that's after doing nearly 4,400 plantings over 16 years of not just lilies, but vegetables and all sorts of different kinds of flowers. The soil mix is to use 60% soil, like topsoil that you get from Home Depot, just plain soil, not a specialty soil mix, and then 20% peat moss and 20% dehydrated cow manure, or if you're lucky enough to compost, 20% compost. I would reference you to a wonderful video we already have on our YouTube channel, which talks about the kinds of soil that should be used in containers. So, our lilies, we've put them nicely to bed. Well, I'll water this down thoroughly. The thing that you have to remember about lilies is they like moist, but they do not like their feet wet. If you leave them in standing water, or they are exposed to standing water, they will rot almost instantly. So be careful when you choose your spot for your lilies that you choose a well-drained, dry spot for them. And in a few months, just enjoy their beautiful color, because they surely will please you in every single way they can. And I hope you'll come to our website and purchase some Asiatics, maybe some Orientals, maybe some trumpets. Our website is www.harvesting-history.com.